And today, we Community Breakthrough Support Mission have partnered with Basket One Consulting and Advisory Limited. It has also partnered with strategy specialists. The firm which you see here called Stavia Experts. This Stavia Expert is a consultants firm that has specialized in strategy formulation and development, with many experience in strategy. Apart from that, by extension, Community Breakthrough Support Mission, together with the Stavia and Basket One, have partnered with an international professional body called Corporate Institute of Strategic Research. And we will today have an opportunity to hear from the horse's mouth, from this new partner, so that we are able to process expectations in whatever we are doing. I want to reiterate and say that based on Community Breakthrough Support Mission, the tuition training is always free, as you all know. But much we will hear from our trainer today, from Stavia Experts, who is actually a strategist, a trainer, and coordinating us on this particular topic. The topic shall continue to conclusion, and that by end of May or early June, we will have concluded this particular topic. And in our meeting today, we believe that we want to do our best to give back to the community. We want to identify ourselves with international standards from this new partner, so that we blend our local qualifications together with international qualifications, and that brings us somewhere in our CVs and our academic profile. I know if you have questions, as usual, after the training, we always ask you questions. But today, when our new partner also makes his presentations, we expect that if you have questions, kindly, after the presentations, we can pick 1 or 2, 3 questions, so that the new partner we can hear from horse's mouth, and we can get clarification that we need. Having said that, I want to thank Diana, the management, and another stakeholder for giving me an opportunity to speak to you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Wilberforce, for that comprehensive introduction of the CBSM team and the Basket One group. So we're going to go straight into it. Before I invite the trainer, I would wish for one of us who was present in the previous session to just run us through a quick recap of what we undertook. Remember, this is just a continuation of what we had started in the previous training. So I'll invite one of us to run us through a quick recap for those who didn't today on the major components of a strategic plan that we had covered last week. Anyone can just unmute and run us through that.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The only thing is that instead of us looking at each other and trying to think if we were in class or not, I'll take this opportunity to see the match I recapped on that day. It was on 10th of May 2023, whereby we learned the major components of an integrated strategic plan. Through which we were taken through some subtopics. We looked at the vision statement, the mission statement, the situational analysis, goals and objectives, strategic tactics, implementation plan, resource allocation, and also, if I may remember, Dr. Ondwasi talked about the performance. And then we looked at what is the vision statement, or what does the vision statement do? We were told it answers the questions: where is the company or organization heading? If you have an organization, any good and successful organization should have a vision statement, because an organization without a vision statement is like a headless organization, because the vision, it gives the clear picture of where you are going, where you are and where you are going. It articulates organizations' long-term aspirations, overarching goals and the purpose, what you want to do, what is the end goal, or you are just in a company to earn, you are just in a company to waste time. And when he talked about this, I remember the NASA, one time when the President F. Kennedy was walking around and he found a janitor, and a janitor, he asked the janitor, "What are you doing?" The janitor was able to tell to answer to the president and said that we are trying to put every man on the space. You know, this is just a cleaner, somebody who may not have an idea of what is all about, what goes on, but he had something. So that is vision. Vision must go down to even that person who is down in the organization to get to understand what the company is all about. So we looked at such like things, and how stakeholders get involved into decision making. We looked at the attributes of an ideal vision, or the characteristics of an ideal vision. What are they? The ideal vision must be concise. A brief statement has to be concise, not too long. It should be appealing to emotions. Organization, it is because it must be an organization blueprint. That one shows, it tells somebody that this is what the organization is all about, what it's doing. Forward, it has to be forward looking, it has to be flexible. Yeah? That's, we can talk of sustainability. You know, you don't have to do something that will be rigid, that will only be able to take care of today and not tomorrow. It should be flexible. Tomorrow, when tomorrow comes, it still addresses the challenges of tomorrow. May not fit to the present circumstances, and it has to be very easy to explain. Then we looked at the key tips to a strategic vision. What are these key tips? Among them were collaborative stakeholders. You know, when you come up with a vision, it has to be collaborative. It has to make sure that it brings everybody on board, not addressing the need of the administration alone. Then it has to write fast and edit later. You know, when you are doing the vision, you put it down first. Then when there is need to adjust or to edit, it will be done later when you get to involve others to come on board. Keep your personal vision statement from organization. You know, when you are coming up with a vision of an organization, you have to do away with what is for you. It has to be for the interest of the organization because it addresses the needs of each and everyone. And then it has to, you avoid buzzwords and the jargon. It should not be jargon. It has to be understood, not ambiguous. Don't come up with an ambiguous vision statement that everybody should be able to understand what it means. So the mission, and then from there we talked about a mission statement, what the mission statement does. Surely, you know, the mission is just
Excuse me, Engineer. Maybe you can help us. In the interest of time, you can just summarize the main points so that.
Yeah, we looked at the mission statement. We looked at the characteristics, the core values. We were given some of the examples on like the Amnesty International, what the vision is and the mission, how based they are, and what the values are they, like solidarity, effective action, mutual respect, universality. And then the example 2 was the University of Embu. It came out very clearly as the one that has got the best vision and mission. Then the Pathcare Kenya, also as an example, and I encourage you to go and look at that. Then we looked at the situational analysis. There are various models and techniques we were taken through, looked at the corporate portfolio analysis, things like SWOT analysis, plot. This is where I came to understand, apart from the SWOT, we have plot. Then pastel analysis. We looked corporate portfolio analysis, process of portfolio analysis. We were taken through that. And then the SWOT analysis, we got to understand what it is and what are the opportunities, threats. That is the SWOT. Then plot analysis and where it applies. It applies most. We looked at the limitations. We looked at the what else? The pastel. We were taken through the pastel, what it is all about, and then I think to that, finally, it was about the approach to analyzing organizational internal environment. And then we looked at that cycle that we were given about 6 stages: strategy, structure, systems, style, leadership, and communication, staff, and skills. I rest my case. Thank you very much for that. Now we can proceed.
Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Robert, for that. He's always at par with everything that we have covered. Thank you so much for that. So I'll invite the trainer to lead us through the discussion. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Engineer Juma. That was wonderful. We are pleased that we are now up to speed. And those who have joined us for the first time, I now can agree that we are on track and reading from the same script. Once again, welcome team for this day's session. And we continue looking at the components, the key components of integrated strategic plan, as we had looked at 3 elements. And remember, situational analysis took a tall order and almost took the entire session because it's very lengthy as we try to scan the internal and external environment of an organization. So it was a bit lengthy. Juma has elaborated so well, and I'm sure if any other information that is needed again, we are ready to provide. But at the same time, we can go on our YouTube page and be able to see through our classes, as Madam has mentioned that. So it's already posted, uploaded. You can read through and also understand more if there is any point of concern. So today's topic, let's go to slide number 2 as we look in today's topic, ladies and gentlemen. Diana, the next.
Okay, just a moment. That's the wrong slide.
Okay, thank you so much. Today's topic is a continuation of that which we already had started last week. And before I pick up from where we left last Friday, there was a question that I attempted to answer. The question was, how is the future of the journey of strategic planning for us or for them who are being trained today? And I had remember clearly giving some explanation of how and what we intend to do, working together, holding your hands, members, so that we are able to be experts in this industry, leaders, strategic leaders in your place of work, and be able to be mentored through the process to the point and of also being able to raise another team that will be able to team in strategic management and planning. And so this aspect, ladies and gentlemen, I had mentioned this aspect of our partnership. And as Dr. mentioned in the beginning, that the journey is, we are not going alone. The only way we succeed is to go with the people who are already there. People who are already there are the global players, the captains of industry, and people who are seasoned in this country and outside the country that have done so well in the strategic management. And they are also leading organizations that are also shown exemplary performance in their areas of interest. And today, from our communication, we are also pleased that one of our students, actually one of the person attending this training, is the representative of the partner that we have introduced today, the partner that is the Global Institute of Strategic Research, in partnership again with the Corporate Institute of Strategic Research, which is an organization, an umbrella organization that certifies strategic managers, strategic administrators, and strategic researchers. In this country, you know so well how such kind of bodies exist, and such kind of bodies are good for our network, for our best market, and learning from each other. And before I continue my training today, I have the pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce Dr. Geoffrey Andrew. Dr. Geoffrey Andrew is the Vice Chair and Board of Advisory to Corporate Institute of Strategic Studies, and the Global Institute of Strategic Research. Geoffrey has been attending this training so keenly without missing, and today we have given an opportunity for him to elaborate more on the benefits that we are going to get as partners to these bodies. He's going to explain in detail what it takes and how the ultimate goal of us being members and partners to this, including those we are training, the benefits that come with it, and largely how the future looks like for those who are going through this training that we are offering today. So I allow Dr. Andrew to come on and give his thought and explain more on our level of engagement and what we intend to do today and in future.
All right, thank you so much, my brother Anthony. Earlier, before you came on board, I was catching up with Dr. Wasike, and I indicated that I would be able to give a brief presentation about CISR and GCASR, that is a body that is mandated or is accredited to be able to certify strategic managers and strategic trainers. So I don't know if Doreen, you'll allow me to share my screen. I would want to share a slide
All
in
right.
a few minutes, then we'll be able to take some questions later.
Okay, you can just proceed.
Okay. Good. So I hope all of you are able to view my screen. Please confirm. Thank you.
Yes, we
Yes, we
can.
can. We
Great.
can.
So my name is Geoffrey Andrew. Currently, I head programs at Carnegie Mellon University, Africa, based in Kigali, and I have also a privilege putting on a different hat as the vice chair of the advisory board of the Corporate Institute of Strategic Planning and Research, and then which is an affiliate of the Global Center for Advanced Strategic Research. So I want to mention as I continue that I'm a certified project management professional, that is PMP, and also a certified strategic manager with the Global Center for Advanced Strategic Research. So just to continue, CISR is a body and an institute that is bringing professionals together and individuals uh, who are looking into how to build the capacity of of the individuals and corporate entities, and then strengthen strategic planning and strategic visioning through modeling and looking at this in the multidimensional and multidisciplinary way for the global community and the professionals within the globe, that is Africa included, in Europe, in the USA, and in the Middle East. So I want to mention that CISR is now the global body that is mandated under the Global Center for Advanced Strategic Research to offer training opportunities and prepare strategic managers in order for the certification to be able to take place. So from the onset, I want to say that our partnership with the Scavia and the partners who are running this training, it gives an opportunity for us to be able to plug into the training component and the preparation bit, so that immediately when you are done at this level, then you can now proceed for global certification. So the Global Center for Advanced Strategic Research is a dynamic hub where cutting-edge research meets transformative impact. We are also more of a lifelong learners united by a common vision to leverage the power of strategic research and to shape the better future of our world. So just like Project Management Institute, GCASR is a global body that is mandated to be able to offer certification to strategic managers. So that now brings the essence of how to globalize what you are doing together in this training, and just to give a global recognition of what is taking place today. I also want to mention that the preparation process for strategic managers or strategic practitioners is always a very tedious and a very expensive affair. So I want to thank your trainers, and I thank the conveners of this training for leveraging on that, and then also be able to now subsidize and offer this training free. And if maybe just like PMP, if you were to undergo this training under GCASR, it means that you would even part with around $450 to $500. So I want to thank your trainers, and I want to thank the organizers. So what are we talking about? This partnership now is only now aiming to enhance training and certification of all the players that are within the field of strategic management. So through this, we'll be able to explore how the training is done, the certification process, the mentorship process, monitoring, evaluation, and then just support the strategic planning and management activities within the continent. So us working together would now be a continuous process in which after this kind of training is done, then the participants and the managers who have undergone this training are able to now apply for the global recognition as strategic management practitioners. So what does this partnership mean? Number one, once you complete the course with Stavia, you have the potential to receive an internationally recognized certificate of competency in the field of strategic planning. And then number two, you also have the ability to gain international recognition for your achievement as a strategic manager or leader. You will also acquire membership in the prestigious global network of leaders and thereafter gain exclusive workshop and development opportunities. And then you will be able to become a more effective leader and a mentor. And then you attract the global strategic certification. So as a member, CSM certification is one of the most sought after strategic management industry certification across the globe. So it gives you an opportunity to join the global strategic management industry and attain that kind of recognition globally. Because the certification, it is a certificate of recognition and a certificate that also it is blended as a practicing license. So you will be able to practice all sorts of strategic management and strategic opportunities wherever you move in the globe. And then the certified strategic manager certificate also signifies that you speak and understand the global language of strategic management and connect to the community of professionals and organizations and experts worldwide when you become a CSM and become a strategy hero. Then when you also issued this CSM or the corporate, not corporate, but certified strategic manager, it is the globally recognized strategic management certification, which adds a great value to your profile and profiles you as an authority in the area of strategy. Again, another benefit is that CSM, you can work on strategy projects irrespective of its industry and type, wherever it is. And then you will also be able to learn traditional strategic management, but also gain the expertise required to execute strategic and strategy within the agile projects. So lastly, this certificate signifies that you hold all the skills that are required to drive strategy within projects and to its success. So for that reason, I want to say that CISR and GCASR gives you an opportunity to be identified within the global village, to join the community of strategists, and then to be able to gain opportunities. And because of the skills you are now, and you will now be entrusted with the opportunity to be able to lead and run any activity process leads to strategic thinking and visioning. So for that, I want to say that we are be able to offer, you can certified strategist, certified portfolio manager, certified strategic researcher, certified content administrator, certified forensic specialist, and also on the mentorship side, we can certify you as a strategic trainer, certify you as a strategic consultant, certify you as a strategic instructor, and then certify you as a strategic coach. So now this gives you an opportunity to get the certification, which wherever you present it within governments, within the global NGO network, within the United Nations, wherever you present the certification, it is now recognized globally. And lastly, I want to say that CISR and the Global Center for Advanced Strategic Research is also giving an opportunity to everybody within Africa, that is in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, whichever country, especially now that I am based in Rwanda. I can assure you that each and every country will be having an advisory board, which joins into the global advisory board where I sit. and then would be able to spearhead the mandate of the institute, that is to ensure that we are moving on matters certification and training. We are also moving forward with the mentorship, and we are moving forward with leadership. So I want to call upon members who are taking this course to be able to register for strategic manager or strategic administrator certification, which the institute prescribes at $150. And then now, if you have time and you would want to be part of the CSR, to be a member and be able to participate in other activities that are coming up, like workshops, like conferences, be able to be part of the mentorship team, be able to be part of the team that helps institutions at a different level. You are given an opportunity to be a member, and just an ordinary membership would cost $80. If you want to be a research fellow, around $250, doctoral research fellow, or a doctoral fellow. And then there is a group of people who have immense contribution to the globe. They have contributed widely to the lives of individuals, growth of institutions, they have mentored young people, mentored organizations, and then raised people from one level to the other. The institution also gives you an opportunity to be able to submit your documents, the evidence of your contribution to the world, to be able to be recognized with an honorary doctorate. So we offer honorary doctorates for strategic leadership and research, and then we also give an opportunity for people to be doctoral research fellows. So, Anthony, allow me to end there. If we'll have some questions that we'll be able to answer, but specifically for your training and the audience that we have, we are giving you an opportunity to be able to register after the training. And once Savia is able to list you as fully accomplished and fully that you've undergone through the requirement, you've undergone through the prescription of this training, we have a partnership that would be able now just to elevate you to the level where you can now be certified to be a global strategic leader. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Dr. Geoffrey. Thank you so much. Back to you, Diana. You may bring it back now. We continue. I know you are going to have many questions. You have written the questions. We will open the forum at some later time so that you can interact with Dr. Geoffrey on the matters global certification and the activities that are already put in place in the coming month of June. And I am glad, ladies and gentlemen, you had it by yourself that if you are to go through the training directly by the global body to be certified, you'll be parting with close to $400. Someone, Jezreel, mute kindly. Okay. Oh, thank you.
So just a moment, the members are requesting for the attendance register. Attendance register will be shared in a moment. It will be shared at 6:30. So don't keep searching for it. We haven't shared it yet.
Okay. Thank you for that communication. And I was emphasizing in the presentation by Dr. Geoffrey Andrew, you know so well that everyone would want to be a global practitioner, and an opportunity has been presented to us through this free training that we are giving you today, which would have otherwise costed you $400. That would be a lot of money. And we are offering this, and we have the commitment of ensuring that there is a transition of more than 95%. And therefore, we have arrangements for those who did not attend classes, the first and the second class. We have an arrangement to have makeup classes that will go concurrently in the coming week so that we don't have anybody missing this opportunity. Remember, Stavia, together with her partners, with the CBSM and Basket One, shall allow you to be certified if you have gone through the curriculum successfully. And the success is very easy at your fingertip. So let's attend the lessons and attend successfully, get to know what is happening. Let us participate, because when you become a practitioner, that's when you realize the importance of having to participate in such kind of forum. So thank you so much. I'll pick it up from there. So last week, Dr. Juma, Engineer Juma, has explained thoroughly in his recap. We covered vision, mission, and situational analysis. And today we have the pleasure again to go through the remainder of the components of our strategic plan. Remember, we have 3 more sessions, this being the third one, for us to have completed this cycle of integrated strategic plan 1, which now gives you the advantage of becoming a globally certified practitioner. So let's go to the next slide there. The next slide. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, today, as we continue looking at the major components of an integrated strategic plan, ladies and gentlemen, we have exhausted the vision, we exhausted the mission, we exhausted the values, we have exhausted the situational analysis. Now we are looking at goals, objectives, and strategies. I will combine it so that we are able to understand. Sometimes in application, you see people say goals and objectives, objectives and goals interchangeably. Yes, they are interchangeably used, but they have a difference. There's a clear cut between among the 3 elements: the goals, objectives, and strategies. And so the goals are desired results. Any organization has desired results, and these desired results have a time frame. So organization commits to a particular desire. As an organization, an individual practitioner in the business, you have a desire. When you have already set the vision, what happens now for you? What do you do about the vision? Come up with goals that enable you now to realize the vision. So these are the specific desired results that organization commits, and they have a time frame that will be achieved. And so goals have several characteristics. When we are setting goals in an organization, they have several unique characteristics. And we have used the SMART goals as a way of explaining these characteristics. 1, the goals we set are very specific. They address very pertinent areas without giving an umbrella explanation. Anyone would understand exactly what those goals are talking about. So they are very specific on what they intend to handle. So goals are measurable. That these goals, we can subject them to success parameters, that we can check the level of performance of these goals. We can be able to monitor change and adjustments. So the goals must be measurable. The goals, and one another characteristic, ladies and gentlemen, the goals are attainable or achievable. Now, they are attainable within the framework of time and the available resources. So when we set goals, we must also remember the resources available. So when we set goals that are beyond available resources, then we make them unattainable. But the SMART goals need to be set within the ability of the organization to have them met. The goals are very relevant with the organization mission. They must be connected. Those goals you set cannot just come out of the blues. They must be connected from the organization mission. All of them are relevant with the environment where it is operating. The goals must be timely or time-bound. They must have a measure of time and milestone. We must be able to know up to when do these goals finally materialize. So those are the characteristics of goals. Let's get to know what objectives are in the next slide. Next. So objectives now are the measurable, they are quantifiable elements, the smaller steps that we undertake to realize the goals. There was a question that was asked when we were beginning these lessons, I think during the project management course. And someone asked the difference between goals and objectives. I explained, but I continue explaining further on this. Objectives are the small quantifiable steps that help us to realize the goals. So the umbrella theme is the vision, brings the goals, then objectives now breaks down activities in their respective order. Now, objectives, ladies and gentlemen, they also carry deadlines. These objectives cannot go without having a deadline. And therefore, they also can be measured. They can be measured, subjected to measure. You can be able to estimate, you can be able to project the results. So I want to use an example here. And kick polio out of Africa. I know that is an advertisement that many of us can connect with, historically, even when we were growing up. So kick polio out of Africa was a campaign that was launched by the former president of the Republic of South Africa, the late Nelson Madiba Mandela. So Mandela's vision, Mandela's campaign on kick polio out of Africa had several goals. The goal for this was to end polio, was to eradicate polio in Africa. That was his goal, to end polio in Africa. That's why he kicked it out. So when this campaign was launched, it was in 1996 during the World Cup qualifying match between Burkina Faso and Nigeria. And that's why the aspect of ball is looking like that. And during that time, it was launched and many people were immunized. And around that time, close to 75,000 children were dying out of polio virus, and annually. And so there was need for this campaign to come in place and end this paralysis. Because once you get the paralysis, you will not be able to play the balls. Your feet will be feeble enough not to play the balls. And being a champion, being a lover of sports, Mandela thought that was necessary to bring back strength in the feet of the players and the potential players in the field. And so, what was his goal? Is to kick polio out of Africa. That was the goal. What were his objectives? Now, the smaller steps that were supposed to be undertaken within the goal for the realization of kick polio out of Africa. One was to end polio virus in Africa by 20. So it has given the timeline by the year 2000. So the second thing was to do an immunization of 100,000 children in endemic countries annually. That was the second objective. Then the third objective was to end paralysis among children who are under 5 years by the year 2000. So objective, the smallest step that must be undertaken for the realization of the goal the president set. So let's see what strategies are. Diana? Now, we had made some definition when we were starting our sessions back about 2 weeks ago. And what did we do? We explained clearly what strategies are. And in our explanation, we said strategies are part of purpose. They are action decisions. And being that they're action decisions, what happens to this? They guide. They determine how the goals will end. They determine how the goals will be undertaken. The strategies determine the measurability of the goals. They also lead. Strategies are not changed by themselves, but they guide change. So they lead to change. And ladies and gentlemen, strategies have sense of urgency. They cannot wait. here is one, to mobilize. Now we are looking at this aspect of mobilizing. To mobilize all African heads of states to join the drive. That was one of his strategies. That by mobilizing
You have your mic on mute.
Okay, so thank you. I'm sorry for that interruption. So the goals, the strategies that the former president, the late Nelson Madiba Mandela, came up with were one, to mobilize African states to join hands in this drive. The second strategy was to set aside national immunization days. I remember that time we had countries had said on their calendar that this particular day, I think it was about 2nd June, would be set aside for all the children to be immunized against poliovirus. Then they also lobbied for funding and partnerships. The lobby was more to deal with the World Health Organization as a key partner, and then the Rotary Club International were one of the partners that contributed to the success of Mandela's goals. And so, in a nutshell, goals, objectives, and strategies. Now, to make them now distinct completely, when an organization comes up with a vision statement, the vision gives us a big picture what the organization has to do and what the future holds. Now we start. What do we need to do with this vision? It is, yes, it's a good vision. What do we need to do about it? Because remember, we did something. One of the characteristics of a vision, it may not connect with reality. Does not connect to the current reality. It's a bigger picture of what the organization wants to do. So what do we do about it? Let's set goals. So now goals will tell us, fine, we have agreed, we have a vision. This is what we want to get in future or today in future. Why can we set goals? Now giving us specifically the time frames within the items we are supposed to achieve to realize the goals. And then once we have the goals, we come up with the objectives. Objectives now asks people, can we join hands? What are you going to do? Team A, Team B, Team 3, what are you going to do so that now we contribute towards the bigger goal? The goal, and finally the vision. And then now, when we have agreed that we have specific times and the things we are going to do, we come up with the ideal strategies. What are we going to do specifically on this? No, let us do this. Let us mobilize this. Let us join hands to do this. So strategies build objectives. Objectives build goals. Goals realize, build what to call the vision of the organization. So it goes in that order. So now we know that the three elements are different, but they work together for the realization of the organization goals or vision. Let's get the next slide as we look at the next element. Now, the next component, I like the way people are appreciating. I like the appreciation. Good. Thank you. Thank you. This second element, or the component of an integrated strategic plan, ladies and gentlemen, is the implementation plan. Remember, many organizations fail at the point of implementation. They can come up with a beautiful document, a wonderful document, sparkling, and launch it. But now the rubber meets the road when it comes to the matters of implementation. And therefore, any strategic plan must provide a clear plan of implementation. a concise, clear, well-elaborate plan that now enables the implementation. And so an implementation plan is a roadmap that provides steps and activities for the execution. Mr. Kuchukwa, kindly mute. Thank you. Thank you. And now we are at the point of implementing a document, without which it would be waste of time and resources to have come up with such a beautiful document. And so the plan of implementation provides several things. But now the implementation plan would depend on several factors. Factor number one to implementation is the nature of the organization. How is the organization structured? Different organizations are structured differently. The decision-making patterns are done differently. And so the nature of the organization will determine the nature and the plan of implementation. How will it be implemented based on the existing structures that are in place? If the structures are not compatible, therefore, there will be need for restructuring. There will be need for restructuring so that implementation can be realized with ease. The budget allocation. The plan of implementation will also heavily depend on the resource allocated to its implementation. So the budget determines the planning, determines the implementation. So when we have organizations coming up with good visions and good plans, and they don't have a plan of raising resources, then it becomes again a white elephant. It will not move. So we must plan according to the available budget. Alignment of systems and policies. Yes, organizations have very rigid systems. Remember, we have different types of leadership, as Madam Name had taught us sometimes. So if the systems are rigid, one of the things when we are coming up with an implementation plan is one to look at the policy papers. Can we come up with the policy papers to amend the existing structures? Can we come up with a plan of readjusting the systems we have so that the strategy we have put in place can be accommodated? If that cannot happen, for example, in state corporation and government entities, there are some decisions that cannot be made unless it is done through legislation. So policy issues, legislative issues must be done so that we are able to accommodate the new, fresh, good ideas that are supposed to propel the organization to the next level. Motivation and incentivization. Now again, every realization, every strategy, and the success of a strategy must be attached to the price. A tag of price must be put on it. And that is why organizations that have motivated their staff and the stakeholders in the implementation have realized good results. And therefore, when we realize this goal, when we are able to have make 1, 2, 3 things, one, we shall have PAC increments, we shall have job promotions, a readjustment of our working hours. The motivation in that case will make the realization of goal be a realizable goal. And therefore, the plan of implementation will also heavily depend on the level of motivation. The corporate culture, this is where again the problem happens with the organization. The culture that exists may not be able to support the strategies. The culture could be issues of staff. So what is needed about the culture is to first look at what we need to do. One is to do restructuring of our staffing system. Two, we look at the training aspect. We look at transfers. People move from one department to another to make the strategic plan be realizable. Because we have to do a skill audit to be able to know who fits best in this place so that he can be able to implement the strategies in the document as placed. And therefore, the plan also depends on the culture, the corporate culture that exists in an organization. Strategic leadership, the issue of governance, the issue of being able to bring stakeholders, the actors and non-actors into one discussion so that you are able to agree together and move forward as an organization. So the plan, implementation plan, will also depend on the leadership of the organization. I will not emphasize because leadership has been empathetic around the board. And that is why when Jezreel asked in the last meeting about supervision, about micromanagement, if that is the leadership we have, it is almost impossible that the strategies we are put in place will be implemented. It must be a leadership that brings on board all the stakeholders, patriarchal leaders that are able to further the organization, further the staff, and see them through the success. And so let's look at the next, which also is related to the leadership aspect, the implementation cycle. Next slide, Diana. Okay, sorry. So the implementation tools. Now, any strategy, and as part of a component of strategy or strategic plan, there are two or three more elements that are used now to implement. One of the things is a Gantt chart. A Gantt chart is a relational flow chart that describes tasks against time. So when we are talking about implementing, a Gantt chart is first used in planning, is also used in implementation. So it describes every task against time. When will this be done? We have said we need to have 17 computers in every department in this organization. When will it be done? The task is to buy 17 computers in every department in this organization for the purpose of realizing an ICT-led organization. And so, what is the time? By which month, by which date. So a Gantt chart provides holistically when the task will start, when the task will end, and the time it will take for it to be accomplished. We also use several matrices when we are implementing, and a matrix will list all the goals, will list the objectives, will list the key performance indicators, the quantifiable measures that we'll be looking at when we have implemented the document. And we look at whose responsibility is to do which task. And sometimes it gives the cost implication to that particular goal. So matrices and Gantt chart are very essential and important tools for the implementation of an integrated strategic plan. The next slide. The implementation plan cycle. I am emphasizing more on the implementation because many organizations have strategic plans that are gathering dust in their shelves. The breaking of the monotony, the aspect of breaking the ice in aspect of implementation is the biggest deal. And that is why we have even come up with trainings that now focuses on the implementation. We train you, we have developed the document, but we give you now areas and particular approaches that you must use as an organization now to finally implement the document that you already have. And one, in the cycle of implementation, we first start with aligning structures. When we want to implement a strategic plan in an organization, first we have to align structures. How are the structures? The organogram. Does the policy, does the document suggest several issues within the organization that need to be put in consideration for the realization of the goals? So we align structures first. We implement strategies put in place. Second thing, we must get the resources. We have the structures. We develop the function and we develop the resources. And so allocate resources that are going to help the realization of those goals. What we do now, look at the policies and procedures. Are there issues of legislation? Are there issues of
No sound.
suffering disconnection. Okay. Sorry, we continue getting these challenges of internet. I hope we'll be able to sort. Dr. Andrew had mentioned it last week that the fiber, the undersea fiber had been disconnected. I don't know if they are still doing it, but I'm hoping that we should be able to have a full internet from my end. Thank you for your patience once again. We look at now policy procedures, the best practices that are supposed to be undertaken for the realization of the goals. So we look at what are the best practices, the amendment of the HR aspect, the operation models that we have. We have documents that are supposed to be done in terms of letters that are supposed now to reappoint people to specific departments of implementation. Then we need to instill information system, an ideal system that now will be able to help us monitor results and monitor performance. We then have to do a reward incentive. Remember, aspect of incentivizing realization of goal is very key. Every strategy must be incentivized, and that reward system enables proper realization of realization goals. Then we need to modify the corporate culture to fit for the purpose of the fitting of the strategy we come up in today. We must be able to modify so that it becomes strategy friendly. If these structures we have, the reporting lines, the what we believe in, and remember, modification of culture also comes from the vision aspect and the values that we stand for as an organization. If they need to be modified, the value systems, so that we have people who appreciate the process of realization of the goals. Leadership is at the center of it all. Leadership in strategic planning and implementation is at the center of it all, ladies and gentlemen. And so leadership determines a lot: allocation, supervision, management, motivation. It's all about leadership for the purpose of realization of the goals. So implementation of the goals also depend on the right staffing. Sometimes we have people who we know very well are not our dream team. If we don't have a dream team, the strategic plan, however good it is, it will not go anywhere. And then aspect of capacity building is also very essential. Building capacity, retraining people, getting them internal jobs, what we call on-job trainings, that need to be done to have the capacity. Sometimes recruitment, appraisals that are done so that we have a team that is capable of realizing the goals that we set in place. So importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we also must be able to build capacity of our respective teams that are supposed to implement the new document on the block. Next. Now, the resource allocation plan. Still looking at the elements and the components, the key components of a strategic plan. The resource allocation plan. Now, the process of prioritizing, number one, when we talk about resources, we are talking about staff, we are talking about technology, we are talking about money, we are talking about time. Those are resources available. And so, the process of prioritizing what has to be done. So resource allocation depends on several things. One, priority. Which one is of high priority? Two, which one has impact? Three, which one aligns to the organization mission? And then four, what are the circumstances? During COVID-19, even when organization had come up with plans, elaborate plans, they had to restructure and come up with a plan that now caters to what circumstance? The circumstance of floods. One politician in Kenya said, when the crises are high with this into flood, spend the money and we'll ask questions later. So what circumstances would determine how the resources are allocated to a particular function? And therefore, impact. We have had conversation in East Africa about the issue of remunerations. Why do we have graduates and PhD holders earning low than politicians or doctors who, maybe politicians who are not well learned. We look at the impact, the input, the process, and the impact. The input, the process, and the impact. Resource allocation will also look at the input. What are we contributing to the larger goal? The process, how is it the process? How risky is the process? The impact, how magnificent will it be to the entire goal or the target public? And therefore, resource allocation will have to depend on the priority, impact, issues of connectivity or the convergence with the vision of the organization, and again, the circumstances under which this particular allocation is being done. And therefore, a resource allocation plan has to give all the objectives listed with their priority levels, has to do a breakdown of resource needed per objective, and has to give timeline and schedule for each objective. When will it? I have given you this. You want to finally attain this. These are the resources you need. This is the timeline that you must keep. And then the contingency plan with the expected changes. So the allocation must also have in mind what will be the possible contingencies, the emergencies, and the simultaneous spending must be set aside. The contingency plan, when unforeseen circumstance finally appears, we must have set a budget for that. So allocation also depends on that. And the expected changes when that particular event has taken shape. So allocation plan is elaborate in that order. Let's get to the next slide. Diana, I'm waiting on you. Now, the next component or a key component of strategic plan is the performance measurement plan. Now, all of those things, we had a vision, we came up with goals, we came up with objectives, we have come up with strategies, we have been given funds, we have given a plan to implement. Now, how do we know that you are doing it? We have to measure it. We have to measure all these things we have given you in this strategic plan. We have to measure if really it is true that they are working. And first, it has to provide mechanisms to monitor progress. So the plan must provide a mechanism for measurement of the progress in the specific goal. It will provide tools of measurement. There are tools that we use to now help us do the measurement. We'll look at it in the next slide. But the tools that help us now to measure the performance of our project, the performance of our strategy, the performance of our plans and objectives that are put in place. And then we look at the workload issues. When we are doing a measurement plan, the workload, the division of workload, we look at the efficiency. How best is it being done? Efficiency. Effectiveness, to what degree is it performing? Efficiency to how best? Effectiveness, to what degree is it being utilized? And then look at the productivity in terms of results, the outcome. The next slide. Now, let us look at the tools of measurement. We said we have given you a vision. We came up with a goal. We came up with objectives. We gave you strategies. We gave you resources, people, money, systems, technology. Now you have implemented. We want now to use several tools to see if really we were putting resources in the right place. How do? We measure this. And the tools that are help us here are one we call the key performance indicators, the KPIs, the quantifiable, measurable tools that indicate when the situation will improve. How will it look like? We are measuring the situation today, and how will the situation look like after the implementation of the intervention? The key performance indicators will give us those particular areas. So we measure using the key performance indicators that are set from the beginning. Then we also look at the degree, what we call the 3-degree feedback model. The 360-degree model looks at the holistic aspect of measuring results. This will be, for example, what are the stakeholders saying about the results? What are the non-interested persons saying about the results? What are other competitors saying about our performance? So we look at so many aspects. In the HR functionality, if it's being done in the office level, what will be looked at is this particular staff, her own or his own evaluation. Have you met the goals? Has your supervisor agreed you met the goals? Have your staff or colleagues agreed you met the goals? Have your peers agreed you met the goals? So you look at it holistically so that when we do a 360 complete, and then we do a feedback to see exactly, yes, you are able to meet the goals or you are not able to meet the goals. So this is an agenda that requires looking at it holistically using different people, the interested and uninterested parties, so that you get the results to know if finally we have reached there. Remember, I gave an example now of a television presenter, TV presenter, who is doing a good news piece on TV. And some old mama in Elgeyo Marakwet, who has never been to a class, will be able to see if what you presented was good or not. Will be able to see that your presentation skills are not good or not or good. They are able to see, and they have never been trained in the media. And that means when we are doing a 360-degree feedback, we are able to get from different people. Even those who are not interested have an opinion and matters. So performance appraisals, this happens. We look at goals, we measure goals against the results. We do an appraisal based on the goal set and the results. We can also do measurement by objective, management by objective, which now contradicts what Jathril asked about what he did say, micromanagement. So we have management by specific objectives. We have set objectives, we have agreed this is it, bring the results, we measure what were the issues, what are the results with the strategies you have, so that we're able to test the tools and see the management by objectives, not management by emotions, will be able to give us results. Self-evaluation, the staff, individual person, or the organization itself is able to do an evaluation without getting parties. You know where you are supposed to be. We usually say when the year ends, we do end of the year, or rather the end of the year resolution. Now we are getting to June. I know very many of us are going to do a self-evaluation to see if indeed our resolutions are in tandem with the realities today, or if there were casts and probably no one followed up. And that will also help us to be able to set objectives and strategies, even as we have resolutions for the end of the year. And then we look at the enterprise risk management. A measure, this tool helps us to determine the risks that occur and how organizations have put in place mechanisms of averting or managing the risks. Ideally, the risks occurred and how were the risks managed. So we look at how the risks were entirely managed in the organization when they occurred. So that will be another tool that measures the effectiveness or the efficiency of the organization's strategic plan. Let's get to the next level, Diana. Next sheet. Assessing yourself before assessing. I love that. A measure from the Republic of major components of strategic plan, risk management plan. Now, that is again where the problem happens in many organizations. Aspects of risk are very risky. So the process of identifying, first we identify, we qualify, we mitigate, and the significance of the same. So, what is a risk in an organization? Do we come up with things that look like a risk? We create a panic mode because it's deliberate. We disfranchise organizations' ability to do things, and then we create a panic mode, and then everyone is running helter-skelter, and then it becomes a crisis, and then you are quickly looking at it, the cost, because it's a risk. Did we necessarily contribute to the risk? So we identify the risk, we qualify what risk it is, and then we have to do the mitigation. Of course, the significance of the same are also very important. So organizations have different approaches. At any point, this document that we are coming up with, an integrated strategic plan, must be able to help us how to reduce risk in our organization. Strategic plan itself is a tool of reducing risk. Things that are likely to happen that could be controlled before time. Staff turnovers. If you have potential, you have good staff, productive staff, and you see there's a likelihood of them resigning because of a number of things, culture, for example. If you're not able to address it from the bottom, then you lose that staff and affect the organization's performance. There are risks that occur. The health and safety aspects of the organization. If you don't adhere to health and safety procedures, you don't have the fire cans in the organization updated and serviced. And then finally, when the fire erupts, then all of us are running. We have a disaster, we have a problem. So prevention is better than cure. Thank you, Mr. Wesonga. I like Namehe's contribution. Yeah. And so we can reduce the risk in our organization. What else can we do? We can transfer the risk. When we realize that we have a risk, a potential risk, we can always have a measure to transfer the risk. Many ways of transferring risks is one, getting in partnership with the organization, we share that risk, or we can do an insurance of the risks that are possibly likely to happen in the organization. And so the document, strategic plan, must give a plan on how risk will be shared or transferred, or rather we could completely avoid a risk. It is there, we see it's coming, but we can always avoid this risk. And that's why when we are being told that everyone must be masked during COVID-19 period and isolation, it was just trying to avoid the risk of infection. Instead of just loitering without having protected yourself, so that now you get the infection and all over again, we are having a problem with the healthcare system that is not able to accommodate the surging numbers. So we can avoid risk in the organization. So the strategic plan must provide a plan to avoid risk, and then has also to provide a way of then when it happens, how we are able to go on to manage and mitigate the risk. Next slide. Thank you so much. The next component, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call stakeholder engagement and communication plan. Now, if you ignore stakeholders in an organization, you will not move. Because stakeholders are groups, are interested actors. They are interested, people of interest in the organization, and they play a very critical role in the organization's functionality. So this group have interest in the organization, they have influence in the decision making, and they have power. They are powerful people. So when an organization is coming up with a strategic plan, must look at the dynamics of managing influence of the powerful, the influence of the most connected, and the power to determine decisions, and externally and internally. And that is why the aspect of situational analysis elaborately talks about externality and internal aspect of the environment of the business. And so there are categories in this box. There are 4 windows I have here. I don't know, are you able to make it larger, Diana? Can you make it a bit larger, the slide? That particular slide, for the interest of our team that I'm sure they have not seen it so well, that particular window. Is that the best it can be?
Yeah, I think that's the best it can be.
Okay. So I have 4 windows. Remember, I talked about interest, influence, and power. So we have the first window of the stakeholders who are highly powerful but they are not interested. They are not interested in what we are doing. They are not interested in the activities we are undertaking as an organization. I think that's a good one. That's a good one. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, thank you. So these stakeholders are very powerful, but they have no interest with what we are doing in the organization. What do we need to do when we are doing management and communication of these stakeholders? We must keep them satisfied. So we have to come up with a plan of engagement and maintain them. Our aim is to move these stakeholders to the right. The right is where to manage closely. The right is the next side. So they are very powerful, but they're not interested. Could be politicians, maybe not interested, but they're very powerful. They could be in the marketplace. We have not created a need in them yet. We have to make create a need in the client so that they're able to buy. They are too powerful. They have money. They have the money, ability, can afford it, but the interest is what they don't have. So the next group are the people who are very powerful and thank you. People who are very powerful and they're highly interested. The next, that is the column number 2 on my right, up there. You have to manage them closely. These are very precious stakeholders in the organization, very precious clients in the business. They are very powerful and they are highly interested. So we must map them and know the level of their interest. So they are key players. The level of involvement is important. Decision making must be important, also brought on board. Relationship plan, we have to come up with a relationship plan in communication. The level of communication here is different from column number 1, where you just keep them satisfied, they will not have a problem. When they get satisfied, they will not disturb you. When kids are well fed, they will go and sleep. So you must know that. But these ones, they are very powerful and they are interested in what you are doing. So the other column, which we have people or stakeholders who have very low interest and they are no power. They are not powerful and they have no interest in what you are doing. What happens? We monitor them. Minimum effort is needed. Don't do a lot of campaigns and program. And you see, you are coming up with a marketing plan to target clients who you know very well. They have no power. They don't have money power. They do not have the interest in what you are doing. You know, let me say, I'm through to this example. If you're marketing pork bacon to some poor people in an Islamic state, some very poor people in an Islamic state, and you are doing a lot of campaign posters or billboards running around in an Islamic state, and you're marketing a pork bacon, what will happen is you're wasting resources. So you must understand who to communicate to what and to what extent you finally have to adjust which plan to deal with that. So the strategic plan document also segments the stakeholders with understanding that there are different levels and people that must be communicated to. The last column talks about the people who are highly interested, but they don't have power. They are highly interested, but they are not very powerful. So what happens? We have to consult them because they are interested people, especially in communities where we run projects. They are community members who are interested in what we are doing and they are not powerful, but they can tell you they will stop the program from running. They will ensure the project cannot succeed. They will ensure that implementation will not go through. They are interested, but they are not powerful. They sabotage systems. They simply not do what is needed. So we must keep them informed, consult them, involve them in support and support plan. Have a support plan and a mechanism to have them be of importance in the organization. So that again tells us how the document now segments the 4 categories of stakeholders for the purpose of realization of the organization goals. The next slide, my dear. The next slide. And I hope, Diana, that should be the last one. Is it?
It's not, but getting into the question and answer session.
Yes.
It's not the last.
Okay, so it should be the second last, huh?
Okay.
So the monitoring, okay. So monitoring, just enlarge it so that it's able to see it. Just do a presentation view. So monitoring and evaluation plan now helps us, ladies and gentlemen, helps us to do an appreciation of what has been happening. We are able to measure results of the intervention. What was the situation before and the situation now? The results of intervention must be measured through an evaluation process. So monitoring is a continuous process that we do on regular basis, daily basis, seeing the progress, monitoring how things are happening in the entire organization, be it a school, how the performance is happening every other academic year in an organization, how our sales numbers are growing. We are able to measure that. So it helps us to have the proper question. So this plan gives us the proper questioning when we are doing a monitoring, and the evaluation is supposed to be done towards a particular period of time. It can be mid of the project or the end of the project. So evaluation is usually done almost towards the end or at the middle of the project. And so it defines the indicators, means of dissemination of data, and the framework of data collection. So this plan helps us to know how we are going to measure the project, the success of our strategic plan. The next slide. I know we are finishing it up. The next slide. So we have various types of monitoring. We can do process monitoring, how the process is being undertaken, the effectiveness of the process. We can do compliance in terms of regulatory, the terms of reference. Are we sticking to what we agreed, the terms of reference? We can also do beneficiary monitoring. Are we getting the impact, the impacted people, the impact of the project? We can also do financial monitoring, doing the budget, how the budget is going on. Are there flows? Are the budget in tandem with what we agreed? We can also organizational monitoring, how the organization structure now is functioning after realignment and aligning the organization strategies and vision. Then we can also measure results. We can test if the results are genuinely what we thought should have given us or not. So the different types and models of monitoring that we can check in this. And so document, therefore, provides a means of being able to monitor the process, compliance, beneficiary finance, organization, and research monitoring. The last slide. The last slide, ladies and gentlemen, as I indicated earlier, our images, we get them from different places, and googleimages.com and becker.com have been very useful to us in this process. So finally, the last slide, as we exercise, get to terminal part of it. Thank you. So we have looked at the major components of a strategic plan at large. From when the organization starts coming up with a vision, mission, what have you up to, finally monitoring the document. And so when we are meeting next, we'll be looking at a different thing altogether, because that will be the second last class of this session. And remember, to be more practical, the next class will be more practical, because we want people who can be able to come up with a strategic plan for the organizations. Thank you so much. Back to you, Diana.
Thank you so much for that presentation. So I request members to still mute their mics. Let's give our trainer a round of applause in our virtual way. Round of applause in our virtual way. The attendance register has been shared in the chat section. So what we are actually trying to ensure that the level at which this training is offered is at the standards to which even our global partners are seeing, because initially we realized that if we are not able to allow people to attend throughout the session, then we'll be certifying people who are not able to come up with strategic plans or become strategic leaders. So the attendance register has been shared. It is in the chat section. Remember to fill it. That's the only way you can prove that you are in attendance. Also remember that if today is actually the last day that we'll be registering for this first cohort, so that we can allow the first set of people to be certified and also to graduate. I know Mr. The trainer has not elaborated in detail how the expectations of the D-Day of issuing certificates. So there are two certificates that we're going to have. There's that one that has been elaborated intentionally to show you that it is not just a certificate, but it's also meant to help you to practice as a strategic planner or a strategic administrator or researcher. So that means that you have to make sure you have attended all the sessions. Then you get a certificate from Basket One Consulting, and then again that gives you the pre-qualification to be given the second certificate that will also be your practicing certificate as a strategic researcher. So that's how it's going to be. So if you missed the previous training, the previous two sessions, we're still going to have a makeup for those two only. But moving forward, we won't have repeat of trainings. So make sure you have attended all the training sessions and you have captured the main components of coming up with a strategic plan, because that is the aim of this session. So yeah, so coming into the Q&A session, if you have a question, I'm seeing Isaac. Okay, there's a lot of comments coming in through the chat. But if I can see clearly, there's Jezreel Okello. You have your hand raised. You can just unmute and ask your question. Jezreel Okello. If Jezreel is not ready, Jezreel, are you in? Let's allow Isaac Wanyama to ask a question. Mr. Isaac, you can just unmute and ask your question. Okay, Jezreel, you can go ahead. We're not able to hear you. Are you trying to speak? Okay. What about Mr. Isaac? I will invite Eric Shimoli, if you're able to unmute, because I'm noticing that we're having a lot of activities going on in the chat section. Eric Shimoli, you can just unmute and ask your question.
Hear me?
Thanks, Diana.
Let's start with Eric.
Thank you.
Start with Eric.
Okay. Yeah, my question is, there's a danger in organizations for tools, performance management tools like appraisals and others being viewed as annual rituals which employees and organizations have to go through. The essence is that when you appraise people, they expect rewards. That may not be organizationally true, but if employees don't see that there's a value addition to, or there's a value gain from undergoing an appraisal, then they start just treating it as a ritual they have to go through each year. What tips would you give us to ensure that appraisals remain relevant and useful tools for management? Thank you.
Do I take it up, Diana?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, sir, for that aspect. The ritualization of appraisal system. Now, beginning of this training, we said one of the objectives is to link or to connect individual contribution to the organization goals. And why do we do appraisal? Is to see if your contribution is coming closer to what we want in the goal. So if the appraisal is not done, then we are ultimately not going to be able to know that we are walking the talk of realizing our goal. And therefore, appraisal is a very important element of us understanding your contribution to the realization of the goal. However, I said, in this process of implementation of strategic plan, we must be able to attach a price. That when you have finally met your goal and successfully gotten to this level, what becomes of important is then what was agreed in the first place. Because organization may not come up with a plan all of a sudden that when you meet these goals, this is the reward. But let the reward be in the initial planning, because it has to be within the budget. So how do we make this to become something good and not punitive when we are measured? And organizations today, we have had a chart, and I think when we were having a conversation yesterday with Doc and Professor on the issues of measurement of performance, organizations have viewed this as a way of punishment, as a way of looking at more of the negative energy than contributing towards the organization vision and the mission. And so the price must be attached from the beginning of the planning. When you are signing it, of course, different leadership may bring in an incentive that is now personal to help the team be more motivated. That is not within the plan structure. So when the strategic plan exists, let us make a point of going to read what were the connected attachment to the goals and the realization of the same in the department. We say if this department will surpass a budget of 1 million, this is the reward that will be given to this department. And so what happens here is basically to see if the department has reached that. So individual contribution to what the department has worked. Let me give you an example. I know there are some teachers here. What teachers do is they sit down and agree that we are going to get a mean score of 10 in the end of the year. And then they come up with objectives and they set strategies, and then they realize they have attained it. So when they are doing an appraisal, we come to do an appraisal of your results as a department, as an individual subject teacher, and then we see, did you meet your contribution towards the bigger goal? There is a price to that. And teachers will tell you for sure that they have been given treats, they have been given monetary values, and that should be able to happen in organizations. So let us look at the framing of the strategic plan. Must we attach a price? Unless the leadership will not be supportive to the point that even what you have agreed in the plan will not be obeyed as a bad culture. But ideally, that should be the case, so that when we do an appraisal, we are all happy. And you see, when you say a price, we don't just mean a positive one. There's a positive price also. So when we do an appraisal and we realize you are far below, you give you a performance appraisal, we have to give you get into another P&P, performance improvement program, is a price. So if there is a negative price, as leaders that we are training today, ensure that your team have also a positive price, so that the price for success and there is a cost on not meeting the goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you have been answered.
Hello.
So, yeah, you can just continue.
Yes, thank you very much, Diana. Thank you also very much, Daktari, giving us the insight of what we are supposed to do. Now, uh, Daktari has also highlighted what we are expected to get out of it, the benefits that we are supposed to get at the end of the training. So I would like to maybe, if maybe time will allow us, to give at individual level, at the community level, at a national level, at a global level, how will we benefit at various levels? Then I'll ask a question about
Would you kindly
the main objective of the training, because
I wish you'd repeat the question. We lost you a bit. How would we?
the benefits to of the training, an individual, to a community, to a nation, and maybe globally, and maybe the main objective of the training, and then I'll move to another question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Yes, yes. The next question is, now the time frame for the training, how will it end, and the whole process and certification and the rest. What about the time frame? Kindly shed light on that. Dr. We had participated in Enable Youth Program. You remember the time frame, somebody is calling after 5 years from the initiation stage. After 5 years, somebody is calling, and maybe the plans that you have, or the business plan that you have, they are not interested in implementing the business plan. They are telling you to change after 5 years. So maybe that time frame will enable us maybe to know the direction where we are heading to. Because if you are aware, Enable Youth, nobody at this point is sharing any success stories of the program. So then what steps are you putting in place to make sure that before you move to the next cohort, maybe if you have plans to move to cohort 2, cohort 3, uh, what plans are you having to make sure that the first cohort has have gone through the training and certification and the entire process successfully, so that you can tell clearly that the entire process is clear and people are benefiting before you move to the next cohort. And then I'm very glad, because one of the things that crippled the Enable Youth Program, we had a habit to sometimes trainers, because there's somebody who never knew, never had even the knowledge of where we are going to. So how are you having a roadmap to that? Maybe another question is the mindset. Maybe somebody is training to be a millionaire. Being a millionaire, you must begin with the mindset, changing the mindset of that person, so that you conduct training, so that when that person has that millions in mind, he doesn't eat it all. Because if you don't train somebody, that means it will figure a point to reach a stage. I'm sorry for speaking Kiswahili, and some are not getting Kiswahili. It will reach a stage that somebody will eat all the money. When he or she is having 10,000, is when he is realizing that he's coming back to his senses. So how do you have plans to maybe change our mindsets? Then maybe to shed light on, I am very glad how you talked about the goals. Then I want to put an emphasis about the goals. Goals, you must have an action plan. And I will use an example. Maybe for us, when you have a specific goal, maybe if you have a specific goal of getting or saving 300,000 in a year, and then it must be measurable. That means you must be able to split that 300 to 24,000 per month, so for you to be able to achieve that goal. So it has to be achievable. Then it has to be realistic. Realistic in the sense that you cannot be earning 40,000, you're seeing you are able to save 30,000 in a month, and you have other expenses that you should be catering for. Thank you, Daktari, and back to you, Diana.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for the questions. So, if I may allow the trainer to respond to some of the questions asked. because I think he's at a better position to run us through the whole process as was shared in the beginning of the training.
Let me address Jethrid's questions. He has just given us an analysis of what happened. There was a project called Enable Youth Kenya. That was a project, yes. And I think he appreciated that we participated with him in the process. Yes, as a participant, not as a lead consultant. And of course, government institutions have their own way of modeling things. Probably the reason why it never went through successfully to cohort 1 and 2 is the political will, which I cannot comment about it for now, because that is purely government projects and procedures. But back to the question of the cohorts that we are doing here. Now, our intention is to have cohort 1 successfully go through the curriculum and be prepared to be certified globally. So the process, the timelines attached to that cohort is 5. Number 1, today is marking the last day of registering. Actually has already elapsed, because if you register now, you won't get the class. Has already elapsed, and therefore anybody registering between now until the next time we have a cohort 2 will be on the waiting list. Why we do that is because we want to be a bit organized and also be able to deal with our partners with a lot of understanding that we need to know how many people are prepared to graduate, how many gowns are supposed to be brought, how many certificates are supposed to be done by the global body, so that we are able to plan. So this kind of cohort will be prepared to graduate between 13th, 14th, and 15th of June. So the exercise starts on 13th. On 14th, we have a session, and then on 15th, we'll have the real event where people will be conferred with their certificates of being global partners and players in the industry of strategic planning and management. So under the aspect of cohort is already answered. The second cohort will join and will communicate the date and when will be able to commence. But for now, put energy and focus on preparing the to be given the international or other global recognition. Now, somebody had asked from the group about I missed lesson 1 from them, but he has asked that having to prepare cohort 1 so well is one by ensuring that we have a makeup class on Wednesday, such a time on Wednesday, so that we are able to cover the lessons you did not cover. We know the lessons people have missed are lesson 1 and 2, for those who join us today. So lesson 1 will be covered on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. The lesson 2, which we covered last week, will be covered the following Wednesday. But remember, the coming Friday, you must still attend so that you are able to meet the numbers of lessons you have covered. And so those who have missed 2 lessons as we began have a chance of attending the same lessons on Wednesday, the same time, Wednesday this coming and the following week's Wednesday. That gives us space to have our exercise done by around 31st, around 30th. The last session will be around the end of the month. So between the 1st of June and the 13th, when we are now having the graduation, we have enough space for Diana to prepare the team. Diana will give subsequent communication of the arrangement that is supposed to be done. Also given space to get the monies you are supposed to get the global certification. Because remember, when you are certified, the offer is for free here training. But now that global certification has a cost. For you to attend this training, this workshop, and graduation at Nairobi at Pan-Africa Hotel, it requires you to have paid this figure that has been mentioned by Daktari, the $150. Will cater for that entire process of graduation, and that is a period we are giving teams and members between now, and not even now, those who are sure they are going to finish, because when people are going to finish. Between the time we are completing this curriculum, this cohort 1, and on the 10th of June. That's when we should have completed the list and now know the teams that are going to be conferred with their certificates, being international practitioners in the areas of strategy. That is well said. Issue of mindset, I won't talk about it so much because mindset is individual, but I want to connect the issue of mindset with the question Mrs. Name Evelyn asked here. I agree, yes, that strategies are methods or techniques or ways of achieving a goal. Yes, they are ways. True, that is absolutely true. Two, strategies and leadership, apart from stakeholder management structure, does it also incorporate the internal organogram? Beautiful. The internal organogram is about the structure we talked about. How is the structure arranged in terms of reporting and decision making? Then thirdly, can a log frame also be used as a tool of strategic planning? Very true. We can use a log frame along with an implementation matrix. Then lastly, resource prioritization. Can we use ABC? This approach of testing behavior, the behavior before, the behavior after, is now what to call change management. So an ABC approach also can also be used as a way of prioritizing. It's true. I agree with you, Madam Evelyn Namehe. Do we have any questions on the chat?
Okay.
I have.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So maybe one thing that I would like to emphasize is that once you have joined other strategic researchers, administrators, those who are going to graduate from this program, there is where you get mentorship, you get development opportunities, you get to attend seminars with like-minded individuals. So that covers the aspect of what he was talking about with regards to how the training is relevant. Because once you get into that, you notice it's not going to be an open forum for everyone, but only for those who wish to continue by practicing or doing strategic research. So there is where you'll be mentored, and it will also involve a lot of what he has said, mindset. So it comes from surrounding yourself with a community of people who are interested in what you're also doing. So that will also be catered for. I hope he has had all his questions answered.
Maybe just ask the last question,
Yes.
if allowed.
Yeah.
Yes, my last question is about stakeholder engagement and the communication plan. Now, at times you might not know who exactly is a genuine stakeholder in the maybe that you are engaging with. So at times you may find that one of the stakeholders shares what some of the your key maybe technologies or strengths that you are using maybe to outdo your competitors. They share with your competitors, and then with time you find that your competitors are outdo you. So how do you know that these ones are genuine stakeholders? Back to you. And then the last thing, I have a problem with your history. The people who are maybe present per class. I don't know how to go about it. Kindly assist. Thank you.
Okay. I know Madam Diana will advise you on that, but now the issue of stakeholders. In that column I presented before, and there is what we call stakeholder mapping. Jasril, we do stakeholder before you come up with a strategic plan, and when we are doing scanning of the environment, we know what is the external environment. Competitors are also stakeholders. They are also stakeholders to our business because they can also drive the model. They can come up with a model that drives how the industry will work. And for that reason, it is important to note also that mapping of stakeholders in the first place, who are the stakeholders and what is their contribution to the organization? So after mapping that, you attach a tag to it. What will their contribution support our mission? So it's not about them learning technology and sharing with a competitor. Because technology is already Learn is a common thing that can be practiced across borders and industry. But basically, it is important to know if maybe you are talking about the internal stakeholders. The internal stakeholders could mean like staff. If your staff will be able to steal in technology and share with the neighbor, then that is about the culture. So we have to model how our culture works. How do we train? How do we recruit? How do we continue empowering our team to be loyal to the vision of the organization? But external stakeholders may not necessarily know the nitty-gritties of the organization because they are already in the external. So you have to manage them. The level of power and influence they have will depend. Your management will depend on how that will be done. Communication doesn't necessarily mean just getting direct in touch with them. The public deserve to be told your procedures of making your product. And that is why when you are having bottled water, for example, there is a procedure you are put there. The stakeholders who are the consumers have a right to know the content of the water, how much carbon, how much is it done, and the reverse model that has been done. So those are stakeholders who need to know what you have done. So what do they borrow to share? It's a common practice in the industry. But about staffing is more about what we do about the culture and the structure we have in the organization. Thank you.
Okay, there's another question from Mr. Nyongesa. I'm not sure if he's still in the session.
Okay, there is somebody also before you come in, Gentrix Andalia. She's asking, repeat how much needs to be paid for this level to be a strategic researcher, to be a strategic administrator, strategic manager, or a planner. The certification cost is $150. And the subsequent communication, we will empower Doreen to be able to communicate you directly so that you know those detailed figures. But up to now, the figure is $150. The figure that we are supposed to pay, $150. So you can convert in whichever country you are in to see the currency, how much that is. We'll give you how the payment will be done. I see Doc has raised his hand.
Yeah.
Who presented on the issue of the amount.
Yes.
Yes. Doc, you are free to come in.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anthony. So, as I indicated earlier, as you presented, once the institution that is in charge of training has qualified you and presented you as having undergone the prerequisite training, then now it means that you attain the capacity of becoming an instructor, a strategist, or a certified manager. So I indicated earlier when I presented that if you were to take this course that the institution has offered to you free, at the global level it goes for about $450 to $500. But we thank the organizers of this training for the opportunity they've given to everyone and to be able to get the prerequisite knowledge, skill, and preparedness for the next level of certification. And that's now where the certification and the graduation bit takes about $150 that goes to the global institution. Thank you.
And maybe you can also talk about the second cohort. If in any case someone misses to finish with us this session.
Dana, if you allow me, we are already in agreement based on the MOU we are getting into with the Stavia that as a global center for advanced strategic research, we are going to leave it in the hands of Stavia experts to be able to prepare the students that are coming from across the region, preparing them for the certification bit. So at this instance, because already there is a training going on that is sponsored, we will only be able to handle the certification bit at this level. And then now when the next cohort is coming up, then now I think it will be a matter of discussion with Stavia and the team that organizes such trainings to be able to see how to leverage or how to subsidize or how to sponsor a few to be able to get to the level of certification then. So at this level, the flow is well set. The training is going. I can say that we've also looked at the curriculum and what is issued or what has been presented by Stavia, and we are in agreement that it aligns with the provisions of the training at the center globally. So that is where we are currently, Diana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I needed that to be clarified to the members so that we can move forward minus the questions. But if you still have any other questions regarding the way things will run out from right now till the time for graduation, you're free to ask in our community. You're free to ask me directly. You're free to ask our trainer and all the other officials in the group. So yes, let's continue with our question and answer. I saw Joseph Nyongesa, but I'm not sure if he's still part of the team. If he's not, I'll open the floor to anyone else with a question before we call it a night. If you have a question, if you have a comment, you can just unmute and ask.
Thank you, Doreen. I hope Phyllis Wango has been answered. She had raised a question, what will the $150 cover? And Doc has explained it so well. Of course, you get the certification, the certificate itself, you attend the session. That is basically the cost that goes to the global body. Yeah, so but I think Daktari had answered that question. I hope Phyllis Wangu is now answered properly.
I think I want to understand better because I'm sorry I got in a little late, but I saw you refer to 13th, 14th, and 15th. So are there sessions on that day or just 15th? That's what I'd like to understand.
So he's asking about the two sessions from 13th and 14th before the actual graduation session. That's what she's asking.
All right.
And remember to clarify also if it's online or virtual or physical.
All right. Thank you very much. So how the global institution always work, apart from certification, that is the certified strategic manager, certified strategic administrator, instructor, or strategist, we have several activities that also go on within the center. As I indicated earlier, that on this platform, with the trainings that are now ongoing, it is training on strategy. But now we are also setting as the board of the Global Center for Advanced Research and CISR, we are setting each and every country with the board to be able to help us in regulations and to be able to help us in advancing mentorship, leadership, and advancing certification within. So on the first day and the second day, we always have a virtual event that gives opportunity because we have some members of the center who are doctoral research fellows. We have some members of the center as well who are also in the mentorship team and also in the leadership team. So for this, when you are trained by Stavia here, you'll only be able to get profiling and be listed amongst those who are now qualified to be strategic managers. But that now calls for your appearance on the last day of the event to receive your certificate and to be part of the orientation and then receiving your certificate and be able to receive the powers that appertains to practicing in the area of strategic planning and strategic management. So I also want to say this, Dana, that you may be a master's degree holder or you may be a PhD holder like me, and then you are not in academia or you are not practicing in academia, but you still want to advance your knowledge and advance your experience in the area of research. We also call upon you to be able to get to be a member, because CISR will give you an opportunity and an appointment as either a research fellow, doctoral research fellow, or a distinguished research fellow. So day 1 and day 2 is a workshop where people present research work that they've always been doing, and then also be able to get expert opinion on what needs to be changed. And then now we review the presentations, and then we have the work that the research work that is presented for publication and in the global space. So that is all. But for those who are coming for certification alone, the third day is always their day. It's called the graduation, the induction and the graduation day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that has been well answered. There's another hand. What was her name? If you have any other question or concern, you can just raise your hand or unmute so that we can have them answered.
Yes, if maybe I got it clearly, what kind of people or what level of education should one have for him or she get a certification? And then for maybe just membership, somebody maybe for from 4 level dropout, is he qualified to be a member of the global organization, or kindly shed light? Then maybe it is important if there are maybe other hidden costs in future, we may have to, so that we plan in advance. So if in case there is any hidden cost, so that we may plan before such a time reaches. Thank you.
All right. So there are always what is called the global prescriptions for institutions that are accredited to be able to issue certificates of recognition and certificate of authority in different areas. For example, I started by mentioning that I am a certified project management professional, a PMP, that is with the Project Management Institute, and I'm a certified strategic manager with the Global Center for Advanced Strategic Research. So by and large, at the end of the day, you only realize that the certificate that is issued is recognized globally, and this certificate gives you an opportunity to be able to practice in the area of strategy anywhere in the globe, because globally we have that accreditation. So even if you're in Asia, in Europe, either you're in Africa or in the US, and you wanted to bid for any strategy, or you wanted to be able to take an institution responsibility as a strategic manager, then this now puts you at a level where it demonstrates that you have the prerequisite skills that allows you to practice. So, Jesri, I want to say that there are no any other hidden cost. It's always just the training cost and the certification cost. As we mentioned earlier, that the training cost already has been taken by the Community Breakthrough Support Mission and Stavia. So there is an opportunity that now elevates you just to the level of certification, where you just now need not to pay for training, but to pay for the certification. That is one. And then number two, when you are certified strategic manager, you become a member of the Global Center of Advanced Strategic Research. And you know, there is always what is called a membership subscription and certification subscription. So at this time, you become a member by certification. And mostly all the global certifications, they always have a renewal period of about 3 years. So like PMP, we renew after every 3 years. And then even for the global center, will be renewable within 3 years. So I think it gives you an adequate time to be able to do that. So we were agreeing with Anthony and the team that at the time of renewal, that would be in 3 years, we should be able to work on a system that would be able to bring a bit of a refresher based on the global trends and the changes that happen in the landscape of strategy. Because The world is so dynamic, and if you look at things, things change over time. So you may not be able to pick the same training you have now and be able to renew with it without adding additional skills and conforming to the global trends as things change. So that kind of refresher will not be coming at a cost. That's what I know. But I know that what you need to do is just at the point of renewal of the certificate, the renewal is lower than the subscription. So we'll be able to share that with time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Jasmine, I'm hoping that you are among the people who registered for this course. During the registration process, we were asking you what your occupation basically is, if you're a student or you are practicing maybe project management or different professions. So that was just a way of understanding the scope of the audience so that we are able to issue you with a certificate that helps you or boosts you to move to the next level in your career or to even do a switch from one career to another. So this certification basically helps you with your the current activity you're doing. It gives you an added advantage because when you're asking, does a high school dropout qualify to get this certification? Uh, Even in our database currently, I haven't seen any dropout to this level. But even so, there'll be opportunities, and you know very well that we're living in a very competitive world. So if you're able to have an added certificate to what you already have, that is already an added advantage. So it does not mean that when you have this certification, that's it, you're good to go. You're just trying. We're all here trying to put ourselves at a higher level or trying to acquire more skills, as I saw most of you were looking forward to get from this training. So I hope that answers your question as well. Then I'm going to invite Betty. Betty, you've had your hand raised for quite some time now. You can just unmute and ask. Betty Namazi, are you in or are you muted and you're trying to speak? You can ask your question. Okay, let's invite Juliet. Juliet, do you have something to say?
Not really.
Okay. All right. There being no other questions or comments.
Oh, Diana, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Betty Namazi.
Yes, you can proceed.
Yes. Now I say that thank you very much for the training, but I have two questions. Me, this is the first time I'm attending, but I heard that we will be given a chance to have sessions that we missed, the first and the second sessions, but then we did not register in the first place. Do we have an opportunity to register now, or will be for a certain cohort?
Now that you have been in the training, I guess we're going to share a registration link in the chat section. So there's the registration link and there's the attendance register. The good thing is that pardon?
I think I did the attendance register, not the registration.
Yeah, so you can just fill in the registration form, and if you have filled it before, it will not go through. It will indicate that you already registered. Yeah, so your second question?
The second question pertains on that day of graduation. The gentleman said the first 2 days will be kind of sharing experience, research papers, and all that has been done. So if certainly one wants to join the first 2 days, we shall have an option of virtual attendance?
Yes.
All right.
So
yeah, that's all I wanted to be clear of.
Okay. So basically, the essence of it all is to just bring together all the strategic planners, administrators, researchers, and you'll also notice that it will be a day to recognize leaders who have demonstrated over or up to 10 years of strategic leadership. So this, by attending the first virtual and the second virtual session, you're just trying to understand what happens also. It's also a place for you to understand what goes on further than just the last day of graduation. So yeah, that is it. So let me try getting the registration form. Is there any other person with a question or a concern?
Is there a phone number or a contact that we can maybe get in touch directly after this?
All right, so I will also leave my contact here so that I'm sure there are those who are not joined in our community at the moment, who have not joined our community. But I will leave my contacts here so that you can reach me if you'd wish to join our community, the current community that we have. But the other one you'll join after graduating.
Okay. I
Thank
think I'll
you.
be very interested in that.
Thank you.
So this is not just a session that is only happening here. It's going to also feature other individuals who are not part of this training but have been recognized for their strategic leadership and have also been part of the trainings or other professional guidance. So this is not just an event for us. It's an event that happens globally in different countries, and now it has been brought to Kenya, and you will be among the first people who will get the you'll gain from that. Remember, we have been told that the payment for the training has been subsidized already. So we only have to pay for the graduation, which is also your practicing certificate, and also a ticket to joining other strategic planners on different levels. I hope that one has been understood by all of us.
That's clear. I'll give you a call later.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Dana, can I say this?
Yes.
I will drop a link that you can share with the community,
Yeah.
just to be able to keep up to speed with what happens, especially in such kind of conferences. Like as continuing in this session, as Anthony was training, we have last day of our Qatar session going on now. So you can log in, you would be able to be part and the virtual part, and just to be able to see how the graduation happens for the Qatar cohort that we have happening today. Thank you.
Yes, that is very important. So there's one that is actually going on, and you will notice that there are certain figures in our country that are also part of the graduation that is going on at Qatar. So it will be very interesting for you to join and see, so that you may have let me call it a gist of what happens during that day. Any other question? Any other concern?
The other attendance, I'm having difficulty in maybe an attendance.
Attendance register, you just, there's a link that is shared. You click on it and follow the questions that have been asked in that attendance. There's your name, your email address, and where you're joining us from, any comments or questions you have. It's very simple and direct. Sylvia has reshared the form. Kindly don't leave the session without signing the attendance register. Isaac,
Thank
you
you.
can ask your question. Okay, so maybe Isaac is not ready. So to close the session, I will invite Dr. Wasike to close the session with us on behalf of Community Breakthrough Support Mission and also on behalf of Basket One team.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for information that we have received. Isaac, I pray that you mute. I also want to thank Dr. Anthony thank Dr. Andrew for finding time and sharing the deeper information, clarifying situations that we didn't understand. And this helps us to process expectations in towards the graduation and certifications. I want to thank the presenter of the day. Each day I'm listening to you. You are reminding me on the saying that learning never ends, because I'm learning new things every day. I'm listening to the trainer in this training. I want to thank Diana, our Basket One CEO, Sylvia Sarah, CPSM team, other stakeholders for finding time and participating in acquiring skills and knowledge. Above all, I want to thank Community Breakthrough Support Mission for taking up the cost of sharing this knowledge as a community empowerment program or capacity building program and other stakeholders. Let's meet on next Friday. And those who did not attend the first training and the second training on integrated strategic management, link up on WhatsApp, on the group, in the community, so that on Wednesday we start off the makeup classes. May God bless everyone. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilberforce. So let's appreciate ourselves for joining today's session and reaching up to this point. It is not easy. Thank you for all those who left a comment in the comment section, appreciating the trainer, appreciating the presentation, and also appreciating the presentation made by Dr. Geoffrey Andrew. Thank you so much for making time for this training. Gentrin, am I leaving you behind, or is it a mistake that your hand is raised? Okay, thank you so much. If the trainer is still around, I will allow you to give your closing remark, then we can close the session. Okay, so remember to sign the attendance register, and once you're done with signing the attendance register, you're free to leave. The session is officially closed until next Friday. For those who did not join, let's meet on Wednesday. Those who missed the first class, that is introduction, we are going to have a makeup of it on Wednesday. So let's meet then. But for the rest of the team, let's meet on Friday at 5:30 p.m.